Hi, I'm Doug DeVos. I'm the chair of the Communications Committee for the West Michigan Policy Forum, and I'm here with Jase Bolger, our policy expert and former Speaker of the Michigan House of Representatives. Jase, we've been going through a lot of things about the state of Michigan and how we want more people to be in our state and to grow the tax revenue and have the tax base be bigger. But then people spend it. Who makes those decisions? Where does that money go? And as a policy forum, how do we stay connected to that to try to make recommendations of what they should do or what maybe they shouldn't do?
Well, it's the people that we elect. So we make the choice ultimately by the people we send to office. And then we're talking about the state budget. So state legislators ultimately decide. A governor will propose, but the legislature decides how that money will be spent. And in many cases, we the people might ask for something there's an old saying that one person's bacon is another person's pork. And so when somebody will say, hey, bring this special project back to me, another community might rightly see that as pork. And so, of course, there's a ton of what we would all agree are key essential government services, police, prisons, higher education, K-12 education, roads and infrastructure, water, sewer. There are a lot of things that get paid for out of that, but then there are a lot of optional things that those elected officials that we send to office, that we send to Lansing, choose to spend.
You know, at the Policy Forum, we like Michigan. We like all of Michigan. We like every business. We like every citizen. And we want to make sure that when we're spending tax dollars, that we're thinking about everybody, not just somebody's unique need that might get over-indexed. Because sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And sometimes it's just a lot of yelling and screaming that gets the attention of a politician, and then somebody trades it for another deal in another town, and I'm going to trade, okay, I'll give you yours, you give me mine, because I got to get reelected. It gets into a really bad sequence there, doesn't it?
That can happen with whether it's special projects or whether it happens in incentives, or sometimes it happens in things that we would agree are essential. And there's a lot of money, additional dollars that have been put into the K-12 education system, but we've not seen better performance for our kids. So there's a multitude of areas where we ought to be stopping and asking, is spending this money ultimately effective? This is somebody worked hard to make every dollar that state government has, and they need to treat it as such instead of this is money we get to spend and look for places to spend it.
You know, we've talked a lot, we focus on policy, so whether you're on any side of the political spectrum, you want your government to at least be competent. And from the policies that we advocate, we want people to think about those sorts of things and understand that taxpayer dollars are hard earned, that they just don't come out of nothing. They come out of an economy and they come out of someone's hard work at the end of the day. You mentioned something about business incentives, and so we come at this from a primarily an economic sort of perspective, and so we want economic opportunities to grow, but there's a good way to do it, and sometimes in our state, our history, we've had a bad way to do it.
Well, sometimes economic developers will talk about gardening versus hunting or transplanting. And so gardening would be have an environment, have all the things happening in a community or in a state that businesses will naturally grow in. And then there's hunting or transplanting where you go to another place and try to attract them and bring them back. Well, if the policies you've put in place have effectively been Roundup all over the garden, and the soil is that base is no longer healthy, it doesn't matter how much you spend to go try to bring somebody back, they're not going to grow and thrive there. And so as we look at the West Michigan Policy Forum, we're trying to make sure that the soil is great for all so that everybody has an opportunity to grow here, and we're not going to try to get caught putting a bunch of money into a project that's not going to work and try to force it to come back.
And that's always the temptation, because those are really cool in the press. Right, you get a lot of press, you get a lot of visibility, and you can make a lot of claims about what's going to happen, but it's the hunting thing, and it's like putting a pork chop around your neck so the dog will play with you, right? So at some point, it just doesn't make any sense, but yet it's so attractive. And when there's money there, it's such an interesting thing to cut a ribbon and go in front, and I appreciate the gardening thing and the role of government in creating that garden, and the role of our elected officials in creating that garden and cutting the ribbon is important. But like anything, it just starts to go too far. And at the policy forum, we want to keep asking the questions about what's the right level.
Well, and I think when they work best, they're tiebreakers. There's a business is looking for where to expand, and they found a couple of good places they think will succeed, and they may make a final decision based on an incentive. But far too often, what states try to do is make incentives everything. It would be akin to if you're out shopping pick your something new, whether it's a phone or a car or a TV. What do you want? You want to be sure it works first and foremost. You're going to read reviews to make sure that this is reliable. If I'm spending money on it, it's going to give me what I want. You're not just going to look who has the best incentive, because you know that you could end up buying junk that way.
You know, one of the things that's great at the policy forum as we look at the state, we know we're not the smartest people in in this state, right? We have lots of other states we can look at. You know, and we've done a lot of that sort of thing. And I think it's important for us to say, okay, where are the states that are best performing? Where is the attractiveness happening? Where is the vitality? Where are the populations growing? Where is the wise spending of tax resources for any government service, essential services, or even creating an environment for economic growth? And I think that's really important for us to understand. We're not in a vacuum. We're operating with a lot of other states where we can get good ideas and we can see some bad ones.
Well, that's right. And you can look at their policies. You look them up online. If we look, actually I did recently look, the top 10 fastest growing states in the last 4 years with populations over 1 million. So big states that are growing. Of course, Texas and Florida are on the list, Tennessee. But if you look, all 10 of them are right to work states. So they're competitive to bring in other employers. All 10 of those states, being right to work states, empower employees, and so employees can choose what's best for them. 4 of those 10, for example, don't have an income tax. There's only 7 states that don't have an income tax. 4 of them are the top 10 fastest growing. And that's just the beginning. We can look at education, we can look at infrastructure policy, we can look at energy policy. The point is, there's a lot of things you can look at, but you're absolutely right. We should learn from others.
There's a lot of wisdom to be learned, and we can look around. And at the policy forum, we like to spend our time learning and growing, and we'll steal the best ideas and we'll try to stay away from the worst ideas. That's what we do at the policy forum. So how do people spend our tax money? It matters. Policy matters. And if you want to know more about these discussions, go to wmpolicyforum.com to dive into some more of the details. Hopefully you'll find that interesting and helpful as well. But thanks for the time to join us here, and we'll see you soon.